Russell Begane Ngubo is a powerful figure within the ANC. In the early 90s, the media branded him one of the feared warlords of KwaZulu-Natal's Midlands. He was a loyal henchman and a trusted lieutenant of the notorious Sfiso Nkabinde, until their alliance collapsed after the ANC exposed Nkabinde as an apartheid spy. Ngubo hailed from Mbendle in KZN Midlands, a region where the IFP once held strong influence, but through his fearless leadership and determination of his comrades, Mbendle was transformed into an ANC stronghold, won through blood, fire and a barrel of a gun. Now this was at the height of the brutal political violence between the ANC and IFP, a war that painted the province red. Operating as an underground member of the ANC, Ngubo carried out dangerous missions. One of his main roles was to recruit communities into the movement. In 1994, while on a mission to recruit in Stoffelton, his cover was blown. Word spread that he was flipping IFP supporters into ANC members. An ambush followed. Ngubo survived, but an R5 bullet tore through his arm. From that moment onwards, secrecy was no longer an option. Ngubo emerged openly, assembling a militant unit of comrades ready to fight Inkatha head-on. Side by side with Nkabinde and with the backing of Chief Ernest Nzimande, they launched a ruthless counter-offensive. The battles were bloody. Casualties, many, and the war for control of the Midlands became even deadlier. One of Ngubo's earliest known victims was Nash Ngubane, a powerful IFP leader in the Midlands. One night, police vans pulled up outside Ngubane's house. Officers stormed in, searched the place, and dragged him away, essentially kidnapping him. But these weren't real police. These were Ngubo's men in disguise. It's alleged that Ngubo, either he ordered the hit or he did it himself, a killing that he would later be convicted for. The IFP struck back hard. They attacked Ngubo's household in a wave of violence. His wife was shot and left badly injured but survived. One of his young sons was gunned down and killed, while another one was left crippled for life. Now the following day, Ngubo's brother, accompanied by police, they went to arrest the IFP members who it's believed were behind the attack. But instead of justice, they walked into a slaughter. Ngubo's brother was butchered, and the 4 policemen were also killed in that ambush. That massacre pushed Ngubo over the edge. From then on, he made it his mission to hunt down as many IFP members as he could. Bodies began to fall, but convictions never stuck. Witnesses vanished and others turned up dead. Now rumors were going around that Ngubo was behind the assassination of Mgudleni Madlala, who was laid down in front of a tribal court when 3 men jumped out of a red car with AKs blazing. 2 bystanders were hit but survived. Word on the street pointed straight to Ngubo. Another name tied to him was Chief David Molefe, a wheelchair-bound IFP leader who was riddled with shots in broad daylight. Again, whispers said Ngubo's hand was behind it. The violence didn't stop there. When the men accused of laying down Ngubo's brother were granted bail, Ngubo was allegedly waiting outside the courthouse with the hammer. Now as the suspects walked amongst the crowd, shots rang out and bullets tore through the air, but somehow the targets escaped unharmed. No one dared to testify against Ngubo, and he denied everything. As if eliminating IFP leaders in the Midlands wasn't enough, Ngubo and his henchmen were accused of carrying out a brutal massacre in Stoffelton. They stormed a house where people believed to be IFP supporters were holding a cultural celebration. Without a warning, shooters opened fire, spraying shots indiscriminately, taking out most of those who were attending. But soon it was discovered that they had attacked a wrong house. Now the very next day, Ngubo's men returned to Stoffelton, this time targeting the correct house and finishing the job properly. Now with no witnesses left to testify, Ngubo once again walked free and untouchable. Ngubo Ngubo wasn't just feared on the streets, he was also a prison boss, in charge of human resources in the KZN prison system. He essentially controlled warders and staff across the province. His rise in corrections began in 1987 when he joined the service and became an instructor in the prison training college. Ngubo quickly made his mark. He became one of the early members and possibly even one of the founders of Pop Crew in KZN, at the time when security forces were banned from joining worker unions. When prison employees in KZN went on strike, Ngubo was among the first to down tools. He rallied more than 100 others to join him, sparking mass industrial protests across the province. Though they were all fired, the strike only grew stronger. In the end, for the sake of peace, the government reinstated everyone. That victory gave Ngubo even greater clout amongst the workers. Already a powerful ANC figure in Mbendle, he was now respected and feared even more. After returning to work, Ngubo's focus shifted to the prison management. But with power came darker allegations. Whispers spread that he was assaulting some members of senior management, kidnapping them and subjecting them to brutal beatings. Now inside the system, Ngubo had become a bully. But instead of being punished, he kept on climbing the ladder. Fear protected him and promotions followed. Soon, he was running the prisons across KZN, first as head of Newcastle Prison, then a new prison in KZN, before rising to one of the top positions in the corrections. But with that power came even more sinister claims. Ngubo was accused of using state resources, vehicles, weapons and even prison warders to hunt down his political enemies. In effect, he was said to have built his own private hit squad from within the correctional services itself. Earlier in his life, Ngubo worked side by side with Sfiso Nkabinde, another feared warlord who was said to have laid down more than 120 people. Now with the alleged support of Chief Ernest Nzimande, they unleashed a brutal war against IFP in the KZN Midlands, especially in the area of Mbendle. But alliances don't last forever. Over time, Chief Ernest Nzimande of Mbendle grew disgusted with the ANC's bloody tactics. Shocked by the slaughter in the Midlands, he turned against them and decided to testify as a state witness. He was ready to expose Ngubo and reveal a long list of hits he claimed Ngubo had ordered. The decision sealed his fate. Not long after, Ngubo and his henchmen stormed Nzimande's home and riddled him with shots. Bleeding badly, Nzimande tried to flee. He staggered outside, spotting a VW combi, thinking it might bring him help. But the vehicle was a trap. Inside, there were Ngubo's assassins. They jumped out and finished him off on the spot. The shooter sped away in a VW Caravelle combi, but fate turned against them. As they hit a curve on a gravel road, the vehicle overturned. The suspects crawled out and set the van ablaze, and they vanished. But the fire couldn't erase everything. Police later traced the chassis and the engine numbers, uncovering that the vehicle had been hired by the very correctional service that Ngubo controlled. On the streets, everyone already whispered that Ngubo took out Chief Nzimande. Nobody dared to testify, but over time, police managed to link him to the assassination. Ngubo's reign of fear wasn't limited to the battlefield. He was also accused of terrorizing his own boss when a senior woman was promoted to a position he wanted. Ngubo allegedly intimidated her and assaulted her, but fear silenced any witnesses. No one dared to report him, and eventually that woman abandoned the job, too terrified to stay. Ngubo was known as the Teflon Man, untouchable. Now his position as an ANC leader in Mbendle shielded him from justice for years. But eventually, the Scorpions in KZN grew tired of his brazen hits and ruthless impunity. They launched a massive investigation, zeroing in on the heads of Chief Nzimande and Nesh Ngubane. And at last, Ngubo was arrested and prosecuted, sentenced to 25 years, but Ngubo only did 12 years. From prison boss to prisoner, Ngubo's power didn't fade behind bars. Even locked up, he ran the prison. Warders feared him, smuggling him whatever food he wanted. It was said that he lived more like a king than a convict. But his brutality continued. He was accused of assaulting guards, and one of them was a pregnant woman. The fear grew so intense that warders staged a protest, refusing to work if Ngubo wasn't transferred. For hours, they stood outside the prison gates from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., demanding protection, and eventually, Ngubo was moved to Simex prison. Even there, he found a way back into regular prison. Now, most of his sentence was spent in prison hospital, where conditions were softer and where Ngubo, ever cunning, knew how to work the system. In 2017, Ngubo walked free. Not long after, he violated his parole when he left KwaZulu-Natal to attend the ANC's elective conference in Massacre, Johannesburg. Reports even claimed he was part of the VIP security detail at the event, yet nothing stuck. Once again, the Teflon man slipped away. Now, in 2025, Ngubo remains a powerful ANC figure in Mbandle. Whispers say he could even become the next mayor. He was an ANC mayor before. Now, in his hometown, many still rally behind him, though others live in quiet fear of his violent past. Ngubo's story is a paradox. He fought for his party, his family, and his community, sacrificing loved ones, including his child, brother, and close comrades. But he also left a trail of blood. Official records tie him to more than 30 murders. To some, he's a hero. To others, an unforgivable villain. As they say, when it rains, it pours. And right now, it's pouring hard for Molefe. Katiso's troubles just keep stacking up. And it looks like he's about to be hit with yet another scandal. Reports have surfaced that he's caught up in the middle of a massive tender hijacking, one that originally belongs to a company called King Michael. Now, King Michael is no ordinary business. The company specializes in mega civil engineering projects and large-scale developments. Now, back in 2013, they unveiled a bold vision to breathe life back into an abandoned Welkom airport, a relic left to rot since the apartheid era. Now, their grand plan is to transform it into an international cargo hub, passenger airport, and aviation academy. But that was just the beginning. King Michael also envisioned building a smart city, complete with a bullet train system, a car assembly plant, and even a cultural village. Now, the price tag, a staggering 122 billion rands, plus the airport runway that's gonna cost 30 billion. Now, the roads and highways to connect Welkom with South Africa's major cities will be one of the biggest sub-projects. It's estimated it might cost 200 billion rands. Now, in total, the plan promises 150,000 jobs in just 5 years and opportunities for over 500 small businesses. By 2013, King Michael had done their research, finalized the master plan, and gone hunting for investors abroad. They returned with signed guarantees for nearly 200 billion rands in funding. By 2019, the company approached the government through the Machabeng municipality, which oversees Welkom Airport, and secured their official approval. Now, everything was lined up. Investors were ready, preparations were complete, and stakeholders were in place. But when the project was finally about to launch, the nightmare began. The municipality stalled on issuing the crucial land lease. By 2022, the delays made it clear officials were playing games of hide and seek. The truth surfaced that the municipality was snatching the project away from King Michael and handing it over to Katiso Molefe's firm, Sebastian Investments. At first, the government had no interest in the abandoned Welkom airport. It was only after seeing the potential in King Michael's billion-dollar proposal that the officials suddenly became interested. That's when the hijacking of the airport began. In June of 2023, the Machabe municipality hosted a 2-day investment summit, inviting government officials and business leaders. Among the speakers was none other than Katiso, Katie Molefe, who was asked to give a presentation at the event. After the summit, Mayor Thandutolo Kalipa instructed King Michael to partner with Molefe's company, claiming Molefe had powerful investors from Mauritius backing him. But this was a lie. After careful consideration, King Michael refused. They already had their investors secured and their plans in order. Molefe brought nothing to the table except a scheme to cash in on the project. When King Michael stood their ground, the municipality turned on them. They suddenly put the project out to tender, a tender that had already been approved years earlier. Now the official tender was valued at 350 billion rands, and shockingly, Molefe's company was awarded the deal. But then the scandal unraveled. It was discovered that Molefe's company had only been registered 2 days after the tender was advertised on the 14th of August 2023. Now even more suspicious, the brand new company was somehow graded 9C by the Construction Industry Development Board, a rating reserved for firms with a proven track record in complex, large-scale engineering projects. Now achieving such a grading normally takes years of experience, yet this company, with no history, no completed projects, was somehow handed the top rating overnight simply to tick the boxes. When King Michael realized what was happening, they confronted the municipality, but no answers were given. Now, King Michael is preparing to take the matter to court, citing corruption between government officials, shady business figures, and politically connected investors. Now, if the case goes forward, the fallout could be massive, potentially implicating 3 ANC cabinet ministers, municipal leaders, and business people at a national level.
To our surprise is within the document itself of service level agreement, it is where it says that upon the signature of this document within 7 days, we must be given the lease agreement for the airport that talks about the land availability so that we can be able to start with the project. Till to date, such it has never been furnished to us. Hence, we've been carrying on asking the Machabe to say, as we are the legit appointed company as King Michael's Pty Ltd, why we are not receiving a lease agreement.
King Michael's insists that the airport project belongs to them and wants to see the project through to the end.
Because we have secured funding for this particular airport.
After the allegations of Katiso being a Hitsquad mastermind, him and his son resigned from the company, a move clearly meant to shift the heat away from the corruption storm brewing in Welkom. But make no mistake, the government and municipal officials knew exactly what they were doing when they placed Katiso in the middle of this project.
We have agreed now that in the next 30 days we need to sign that memorandum of understanding, which is we can then work together with the Free State Development Corporation, Machabe, and the department, and advertise to look for investors, which there's already an interest, but it's important that we follow all the due processes to make sure that legally we're correct, and there's already a council resolution on these matters. We go Welkom Airport. Netla upola or last year Ronarle Maspalo Machabe Reranka Raya Investment Summit wabali commitment to Mauritius investors. Jwale remona batlile batlo re bolella hore pele kwitina e fair ba batla o nka site means that how finyane banana or batla ba qalle construction.
To hijack hundreds of billions, you either need sharp legal and financial minds who can steal it on paper, or you need a powerful enforcer who can take it by intimidation or even force. And if the allegations are true that Katiso had Amanswart killed over a mere 1.2 million rand tender, then the question hangs heavy. What would he be willing to do for 350 billion rands? That's why I believe that if anyone had the muscle and the nerve to pull this one off, even by force, it was definitely the big guy himself. And if whispers about Katiso being a dope dealer are true, then imagine what kind of empire he was going to build if he had secured a stake in the international cargo port. He wouldn't just be rich, he would be the African Pablo Escobar. Meanwhile, King Michael faces serious legal troubles. They've already entered into binding commitments with investors and stakeholders. That's why King Michael may have no choice but to drag the municipality and the government to court in what could be one of the biggest corruption battles in South Africa. The Machabeng municipality has long been known for its corruption. One of the recent scandals involves the expanded public works program, which was meant to give young people from poor communities access to temporary jobs. But in Machabeng, the program was hijacked. Instead of empowering the youth, the payroll was filled with former councillors pocketing inflated salaries, while the local youth were left with no opportunities. Now, for municipal leaders, these jobs weren't about development. They were rewards for loyal comrades. But nothing compares to the 350 billion rands tender scandal. Now, back in Zuma's era, many of us believed the government's corruption had reached its peak. Now, when Zuma spent around 250 million rands of taxpayers' money to build his Nkandla Palace, as a nation we were outraged. Yet under Ramaphosa's watch, corruption has only grown darker and more ruthless. Now today, it's no longer shocking for comrades to steal billions. And I don't think we are angry enough as a nation. We are distracted by the racial and xenophobic wars while they pick apart our economy. The rise of the tenderpreneur phenomenon is bleeding this country dry. And it's not only corrupt politicians, it's also private business people lurking like wolves at the door, ready to strip away the last cents from the poor through corruption. Meanwhile, Katiso Molefe's troubles keep piling up in court as more and more of his alleged crimes surface. And something tells me there's still more to come. If the police truly follow through with the Welkom airport case, it could blow the lid wide open. The names of powerful politicians could be exposed, revealing once and for all who Katiso Molefe's real handlers and partners in government are.